In March, Hachette, a major publishing house, pulled a novel from shelves. Shy Girl had been released in the UK with good reviews. Then readers started saying it looked AI written. An AI detector agreed. The author insisted she wrote it herself. Hachette investigated for weeks and pulled it anyway. And to this day, nobody can say for certain how that book was actually written. So, what evidence would settle the debate? This might. Every dot is a story, thousands of them. The brown ones over on the left, those are written by humans. Everything on the right is AI. 5 different models: Claude, GPT, Gemini, DeepSeek, Kimi. 5 companies, 2 countries, different training data. And they landed on top of each other. You can draw a line down the middle of that chart. Nobody told those 5 models to write alike. And the model that drew that line was never shown how any of it was written. No word choice, no punctuation, only the shape of the story. The chart comes from a paper published this April by a group of researchers at the University of Maryland and Google DeepMind. Built one of the biggest side-by-side comparison of human and AI fiction I've come across. I'll show you how. But first, you need to see what everyone else is looking at, because it isn't this. The clues those readers pointed to weren't random. They overlap with a list of AI writing tells that anyone can find online. Wikipedia editors pay close attention to these patterns as they clean up AI-generated content. And yes, there is a Wikipedia page on signs of AI writing. The writing inflates. Everything continues to captivate. Everything has a rich heritage. It loves symmetry. Not only this, but also that. It explains what it just said, a fact followed by a vague sentence explaining why the fact matters. And yes, the M dash, a punctuation mark that has become one of the most debated AI tells online, not proof by itself, but a pattern people now notice. These clues work surprisingly well, at least for now. 3 things are actually killing it. 1, the model is moved. When GPT 4.5 shipped, M-use dropped sharply. The most famous tell we have quietly deprecated in a version bump. And these ticks are specific to whoever you're using. Mine right now is Claude. For quite a while, it cannot stop saying load-bearing. But watch how cheap that is to fix. 1 line, stop using that word, and it's gone. And number 2, you can train it out, and not just word by word, fine-tune a model to imitate human style, and AI detection rates fall from 97% to 3%. That's the entire defense gone. And number 3, humans write this way too. Wikipedia's own guide says so. Of course they do. The models learned it from us. So the list catches lazy AI use. It proves nothing. We're using it as proof anyway. So how good is anyone at this? Researchers ran obvious experiment. 16 detection systems plus a panel of expert human annotators. Same job. The humans scored between 45 and 53% on a 2-way choice. That's a coin. Machines beat that, but the machines isn't one thing. Commercial detectors run over the same 192 texts. One caught 83% of the AI writing, another caught 29. Same text, opposite verdicts, and the student doesn't get to pick which one the professor bought. Now, the next part can be a bit heartbreaking. 3 years ago, researchers ran 7 detectors over essays by students writing in their second language. 61% got flagged as AI. Native speaker essays? Almost none. That changed the conversation. So I checked whether it still holds, and the replication this year found no systematic bias across 3 families of detectors. The tools genuinely improved. But in that 16 systems study, English language learners still got flagged more. So the bias shrank. It didn't vanish. And the humans were no better than chance. Accuse someone on punctuation and a detector score, and you'll be wrong a lot. Wrong about the same people repeatedly. And mostly it's aimed at the wrong target. If you're being graded on your writing, a machine doing it isn't a style question. It's the assessment collapsing. Same for emissions. At work, nobody's grading your Slack messages. One exception, and it's real. Some writing is supposed to carry a person, the apology, the condolence note. When that reads machine-made, detection isn't the problem. The message already failed. You sent the shape of caring without the caring. So catching people is a dead end, which is why what I want to show you isn't about catching anyone. Now back to that chart. Researchers built something enormous, 10,000 writing prompts, each one answered by a human author and 5 different AI models, 61,000 stories, about 5,000 words each. Then they threw the prose away. The classifier never sees the text. No word choice, no punctuation, no rhythm, no end dashes. Structure only. How plots move, whether subplots exist, how time works, how themes get stated. On structure alone, it separated AI from human at 93.2, with style included, 96. Structure by itself lands within 3 points of everything. Strip out every stylistic signal, and the accuracy barely changes. Over 97% of the performance survives with 0 clues from the writing style. Everything the internet argues about, the punctuation, the phrasing, the vocabulary, is the part that doesn't matter. And they went further. They took AI stories and ran them through a tool built to scrub out AI writing artifacts. The cliches, the purple prose, the redundant exposition, 7 categories of it. Gemini rewriting its own work to sound human. Then they ran the structural test again, 95.5 before the cleanup, 93.9 after, a drop of 1.5 points. You can scrub the prose, the shape doesn't move. And that's the whole thing. In the paper's own words, style is a cheap edit. You can delete an em dash, you can ban a word. Narrative structure is far harder to humanize because changing it takes significant structural rewrites, not post hoc edits. One layer costs you a sentence of prompting, the other costs you a rewrite. Look at the red cluster sitting lowest. That's Claude. The most distinct of the 5, the one that writes least like the others, is still on the AI side of the line. So what's actually different? 4 things, and you can start noticing them tonight. AI over-explains its theme. The narrator spells out what the story meant 77% of the time. Human authors, 52. It keeps one track. 79% of AI stories had no subplots at all. Humans, 57. Humans use time jumps, flashbacks, threads that go nowhere. AI tells you the story from first clue to grand reveal. It overrides the body. AI conveys emotion through physical sensation 81% of the time versus 38% for humans. Where a human writes, she felt afraid, AI gives you a tightening chest, cold sweat, a dimming lamp. And it never acknowledges you. Humans break the fourth wall, addresses the reader, name real books in real places. AI mostly doesn't. The paper's line is the one I can't shake. AI writes as if no one is watching. And it goes further. They could tell which model wrote a story 68% of the time. 6-way, not is this AI, which AI. Each one had a habit it couldn't stop. Claude never builds. The paper's phrase is flat event escalation. Page 1 and page 20, same temperature. Things happen, nothing tightens. A story that never raises its voice. GPT keeps putting people to sleep, dream sequences constantly. The character drifts off, has a symbolic dream that explains the whole theme, wakes up changed. Gemini stays outside. What they look like, what they're wearing, never what's in their head. You watch its characters through glass. Flat, dreamy, outside. Those are the specific versions they tested. Claude Sonnet 4.6, GPT 4.5, Gemini 3 Flash. Those habits will drift as models update. That's not the point. The point is each model had one and none of them chose it. The shape isn't a setting, it's downstream of how these things are trained. One honest caveat: this was measured on fiction. Nobody has tested on your emails. Untested isn't disproven. So, won't the next model just fix this? The specific tiles? Yes, they already have. But look at why the shape exists. A model is trained to produce the answer that looks most correct. In writing, correct means the premise resolves, the arc is legible, nothing seems arbitrary or unearned. So as long as models are rewarded for the most plausible version of a thing, the shape moves, but some kind of fingerprint probably doesn't. AI writing feels empty because it isn't carrying anyone's experience. One more thing, and it's the part that unsettles me. Detection keeps getting harder every year. Everyone assumes that's AI learning to hide. It isn't. Researchers measured AI-associated words in news writing across 34 languages before ChatGPT and after. They rose in 26 of them. Average 15%. Ordinary matched words over the same period went down. Not English, not tech blogs, 26 languages of human journalism drifting toward the same vocabulary. And it's the same handful of concepts everywhere. Emphasized type verbs climbed in 24 of the 34 languages. Different alphabets, different grammars, same drift. So the line isn't blurring from one side. The problem was never AI writing becoming human, it's human writing becoming AI. Back to the book Shy Girl. I still don't know whether a machine wrote it. But look at what that whole argument was about. A repeated word, adjectives, sentences arriving in threes, the later one line of prompting erases. Nobody in it was looking at the shape. And here's where I've landed. A detour that went nowhere. The thing you never resolved. The ugly specific nobody would invent. That isn't a style, it's a fingerprint. Thank you for watching.